I don't like your manager, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't like your publicist, I'm not doing it. You know, I'm doing it really on my terms, right? Because I'm just so happy, you know, just so happy. And I don't think I'm willing to sacrifice that for anybody anymore.
Do y'all remember when Law Roach retired in 2023? It was a huge news story that had everyone talking, and it solidified a few things. For one, Law was a bona fide star, whether people liked it or not. And secondly, being a stylist may look glamorous, but it's a service job that requires maintaining a relationship with your client, dealing with their teams, sacrificing your personal life to be on call for their busy schedules, and constantly negotiating with luxury brands or gatekeepers who may or may not understand your value. Traditionally, stylists have kept quiet about the draining and demoralizing parts of the job, but Law has been transparent and vocal about his value. It's because he didn't follow the traditional stylist trajectory, which usually entailed working at a magazine or assisting other stylists in LA and New York. He had no formal training, just his taste, a psychology degree, and his experience running a vintage store in Chicago with a friend. But he broke through a very cutthroat space that wasn't really made for him. He's taken styling to a new level, leaning into storytelling, method dressing, and using archival or vintage pieces to showcase Black history. His work has really benefited the entire industry, which we will talk about later, but this type of dedication came at a price, which at one point, Law was not willing to pay. But now he's back, just in time for the Met Gala. Today, we are going to talk about why he decided to come back from retirement, his work on the Vogue Met Gala issue, and if he's thinking about Zendaya's upcoming Ronnie Spector role, or her wedding dress. Then we will get into the current state of celebrity styling as a business and a practice, and his desire for more ownership and equity, and how he plans on getting it. My name is Aria Hughes, I am the editor-in-chief of Complex, and I am asking Law Roach to please explain. Hi, Law.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So now let's talk about this beautiful Met shoot that just came out with Vogue. You must be so proud.
I am extremely proud.
Like, it just, even when I look at it, I'm like, this is historic. You know, people are going to look back on this and just have an understanding of, like, the power of Black style and Black dandyism. When were you asked to do this? You know, like, how did it happen?
I got a call from Anna, and she's like, I may have this project that I want you to work on. And I flew to New York to meet with her, and she told me all about it. And then she told me that Tyler Mitchell was shooting it. And Tyler and I had just started to kind of like build this friendship. So we had been talking. I had bought some of his artwork, some of his photography. So it was all these things kind of started to happen at the same time. And you know, I didn't know. She was like, it's this project. She was like, but it's going to be a long project. It's a big project. So I flew to New York, and we had a whole meeting about it, and they kind of told me what it was about. And when she said it was, you know, in conjunction to the Met, and it would be the May issue, I was just like, you know, I'm just really grateful and humbled. And I don't know, the word gratitude is just going to come up a lot when I talk about this, because it is historic. And for me, it felt like we haven't seen anything like this since the all-Black Italian Vogue issue.
That's so
true.
You
know, that was so collectible. We all wanted it. Like, people still are searching for and buying that issue. I hope that we as a community actually go out and physically buy it.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think that's really important, that we don't just post it and talk about it online, but we actually go out to the newsstands and buy it. Because that issue, although it was pre-social media, they had to reprint that issue 3 times. And so that just showed the world the power of having Black faces in print, right? And so I really am begging everybody to go out and actually buy it and not just share it online. But and then Tyler and I started to, you know, pull together inspiration, and he was just such a dream to work with. I feel like Tyler has no ego, which is beautiful, because a lot of times photographers want things the way they see it. And if he had an idea and I had an idea, he would ask me to explain it to him and make him understand why I felt that way. And he let me do that so much during this portfolio. And then he also would come back and say, you were right about that. And, you know, and for me, that just meant the world for me, because I kind of, like, I don't work for, you know, Vogue. Well, I do, I guess, but not full time, right?
Yes.
I'm a contributing editor,
Yes,
so it's
yes.
like, that's not my 9 to 5. So everything I'm used to doing independently. So the less I feel like I have perimeters, the more creative I get to be. And he just kind of like let me fly. And then it was like our first time working together, and it felt like we were brothers, like we had kinship. It was just amazing. Like every day was amazing.
Yeah.
Like all the talent was amazing. Like there was one time it was like a lot of the girls was there. Io was there, Jonelle, Tiana, Yara, Adu. You saw like all these girls were there, and they were all getting their hair done. It was like, we back in the beauty shop, and everybody was just like, the music was playing, everybody's laughing and talking and hugging each other. It was literally, it was so emotional to be on that set. And it was like, there was no attitudes, you know, we were running over and people were like telling their publicists like, no, it's okay. So it was like, everybody knew that we were there for something that felt bigger than us, you know, as individuals.
How many days did you shoot it over?
We shot over 4 days.
Wow.
So we packed it in. Like the first day we shot 22 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's one photo in particular I want to talk about. All of them are beautiful, but there's one photo that it just felt, I love that this is in Vogue. And it's the Tiana Taylor, Janelle Monáe.
And Ryan.
Yes, and Ryan.
So this one is actually in GQ because there's a crossover.
Yes, you're right.
This is one of my favorite pictures.
Oh my gosh.
Like, this is one of my favorite pictures. And, you know, we were talking about, you know, the conversation was about dandyism and black style and tailoring. And, you know, there was a lot of lesbian performers back in the day, one being Gladys Bentley. And I was inspired by Gladys Bentley. You know, she was around in the Harlem Renaissance and she performed in men's wear. I don't know, that was the inspiration from this, and I love this picture. And like, Tiana's body just looks like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, I mean, like, that's...
It's just like, you look at them, there's just like, you just immediately, there's just a knowing,
Yeah.
and you don't see pictures like this in Vogue and GQ regularly, so I love seeing that.
It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
It was all our favorites too, after we got that shot. And then them on set together was like, I wish that the video piece that they did was more in depth and showed a little bit more about
the atmosphere.
So you get the atmosphere, you get more of the emotion. But yeah, no, it's like, you know, and then where Oswald Bo sang. And,
Yes, I want to talk about that. Well, for one, what was the overall inspiration for the portfolio, would you say? Like, what were you pulling from? What were you thinking about?
I just was pulling from, like, my own, you know.
Because you talked about Don Juan.
Yeah.
And you see that here a little bit, too.
Yeah, I would talk about a pimp, in, you know, in Vogue. But, you know, that's just who I am.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's part of my personality.
Yeah.
Like, I brought so much of who I am and what I've learned. And, you know, I have 5 uncles and the way they dress, and my grandfather, and like going to church and, you know, seeing pimps on the street and seeing the drug dealers, and like, you know, growing up the way I grew up, like, those were your heroes, right? Those were the people you aspired to be. Not that you necessarily want to do what they do, but you want to have that lifestyle. And I think that's what, you know, being a dandy and really being in fashion means for certain black people. Like, it's a form of survival that nobody talked about. You know what I mean? It's almost like Rihanna when she said, you could beat me, but you can't beat my outfit, right?
She could beat me, but she cannot beat my outfit.
So it's like all those things. It's, you grow up a certain type of way, like your clothes, you know, can keep you out of shit. You know what I mean? It's like,
or get you into the right stuff.
Exactly. You know, so for me it was like, I grew up very feminine and, you know, my last name is Roach, so I had a lot of things that people would want to tease me about, but I was fresh, you know, I was fly, so they had to be like, oh, okay, you know, he a little soft, but he could dress, you know, he fly, you know, and so it was a form of survival, and I think the roots of black people adapting European dress was out of, you know, a way survival and also recognition and showing people that I am just as good as you, and I'm going to show you that through what I'm wearing.
For sure. And I want to go to the Rocky shoot. I love that he was wearing Oswald Boateng on the cover. I love the mix of brands because I know sometimes that can be a struggle when working on editorials. Yeah. I saw you work with Rocky, you work with Tracy Ellis Ross, you work with Mary J. Blige. Like, you work with people who have very strong style identities. Yeah. You know, and they're like, people know them for that identity. Yeah. I'm just curious what your approach is when working with folks like that.
I just understand them. You know, I did Tracy for a couple of editorials. I did Mary for a lot, a lot of things. And this was my first time working with Rocky. It's just, for me, my process, like you said, is just I research and I study. And it's also, these people are like pop culture icons, right? So if you're in the culture, you understand a little bit about them. That's just what it is, right? I'm not trying to change anybody, you know. I'm just trying to elevate and collaborate and just do a good job.
Yeah, I love, like I said before, I love that beautiful green suit.
This was, let me tell y'all something about A$AP Rocky.
Tell us.
So, that man is special. Like, so I was not expecting to get the A$AP that I got. You know, I was expecting him to come and have a bunch of people with him and, you know, and to have his stylist, Matthew Henson, who I love. That's my homeboy. You know what I mean? Like, so much respect for him. He came, you know, made sure that Rocky was okay, and then he left. He kind of like let, you know, and that's a testament of how confident he is with their relationship, that he's just kind of like, you know, like, go ahead, Law, do your thing. We trust you. And Rocky, and it was just like me, him, my assistant, and a person from Vogue, and we were having this fitting, and we were like having fun, and he was trying on all these clothes, and it was like, and he was so confident but also vulnerable at the same time, and like so opinionated but also so collaborative. I'm just like, this wasn't what I expected. And I mean, he was great. And then the day that we shot, he came to set early. He came to set, I think it was him and like his assistant. It wasn't a bunch of people, like people came to check on him, but it was just like, he just was in it. You know what I mean? He had so many ideas, and they were all great ideas. And me and Tyler was like, yes, yes, yes. And then he also made it feel like, and made us know that it was all three of us. Like, it was a combined effort. You know, he came early, he waited around. So I dressed his grandmother, which was an honor for me. And he was just so patient and then so grateful. I posted another picture that didn't make the cover of him with his like praying hands with a big smile on his face, the grill showing, and that just really the way he was on set. And like literally he made all the assistants, the interns, he said hello to everybody, thank you. Like, he just had a presence, and I was just like, okay, Reed. Now I understand. You know what I mean? Like, it was, we were all just like, I mean, all the Vogue, everybody was just like, he was just so special. You know, you come across those type of people every now and again, right? That just have something, and it's just like they just suck you into their world. And again, I worked with a lot of people, and I met a lot of special people, but it was just like, I just didn't expect that. He was like such a gentleman. Like, to everybody, you know, like it's his shoot. We all like following. He's holding the door for other people. It was just like, it's almost how Black people say like, oh no, he was raised right. You know what I'm saying? He was raised right.
Training.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I just walked away from that like a huge A$AP Rocky fan, and just of just him as a person, and you know, like, you know, did really rooting for him. You know, it's just like, no one was expecting that. And we were all like, damn. You know what I mean? And I was like, I can't wait to see Rihanna, so I could be like, okay, now I see it. Now I understand. You know what I mean? Because it's past him being an attractive man or a stylish man. It's like, it's something that's on the inside that is really special. Yeah. And I was also grateful that he allowed me to be a part of the shoot, because he could have chosen any stylist he wanted. I'm sure they would have, you know, let him have whoever he wanted, but the fact that he gave me that opportunity, like, I feel like so grateful and like indebted in a way, you know, because for me, a lot of people look at my work and they're like, oh, well, he only got a Vogue cover because it was Zendaya, you know, and I'm like, now I got this cover, what you got to say now? You know what I mean? So, you know, I think people try to pigeonhole me, some of my success to her, but a lot of my success is because of her. But some of my success is also just because I'm really good at what I do. Yeah,
and it's what you brought to her. Yeah. Obviously, she's a beautiful model and muse, and she has ideas, but no, I could not exist at the level that I am. And be as successful if it wasn't for my partnership with her. For sure. Yeah. So let's talk about the Met. Yeah. So you've done that beautiful Vogue portfolio. This will be coming out after the Met, so sadly, I can't get your real-time reactions to what folks are wearing. But you're styling Zendaya.
Yes.
Are you able to say, how many other people are you styling? Are you able to say who, what, when, where, why?
I don't know. So I'm doing Jeremy Pope, which is another new client. We've been working on something else for Vogue, another smaller project for Vogue with him, and I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about his look.
Well, what's your research process for this? Like, how long have you been researching? Because this is like, to me, I'm like, this is, you shine all the time, but like, this is your bag, you know? Like,
yeah, and that's why I announced that I was coming back and I was unretiring, because I'm like, I felt like I should have a strong presence on this carpet. And that piece I said, I've been researching and preparing myself for this my whole life. So I really have been working towards this Met Gala my whole entire life. So yeah, it was just, so I think I'm doing 6 people. Or I would have done 6 people, hopefully, when this airs, if everything went right. But yeah, Jeremy Pope, I think his is going to be really exciting. But he also has no fear when it comes to fashion. So when you have someone like that, you can push things and play around a little bit more. And so his look is rooted in the beginning of what it starts, the start of tailoring before it even happens. So I'll say that about his look.
Okay, I'm excited. Do they give y'all any type of, well, you don't need it, but there's other stylists who might not be as well versed in what Black dandyism is. Do they give a research packet or something? I could have sworn they did.
Well, I don't know, because I've been working on I had worked on the portfolio, and then I am you know,
I am. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think we're all curious to see how certain stylists interpret this theme.
Yeah, we waiting to see who's gonna fuck it up.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Yes. So I feel like
we're gonna see who's gonna fuck it up.
Yes.
Who's gonna do it wrong. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about you being a fashion historian.
Yes.
Obviously, at the beginning when you were styling folks, you were putting people in vintage out of necessity. And now it's become such a layer to your storytelling.
Yeah.
And now, and this is just what I'm saying, I'm not saying you're saying it. Now I'm seeing a lot of stylists put these girls in archive dresses, but it just feels like there's no it's just like...
There's no context around it. Yeah.
So tell me, like, what your thought is when you have a dress and, like, pairing the archive dress with the right girl or guy for the right moment.
I'm just a storyteller.
Yeah.
You know, at the end, at the you know, base of it all, that's all I think I am. And I think that's what makes me good, is that I think in ways of storytelling. The Met portfolio was every picture had its own story, right?
Yeah, you said it was vignettes.
Yeah, it was like these tableaus I created of these people. And, you know, I even did the seating chart. We called it the seating chart. So I did, you know, the composites. Like, the research was crazy. Like, we had cutouts of everybody's faces and different clothes. So it was like almost doing like paper dolls that we would suggest this sitting of these 3 people. And, you know, it was based on physicality, but also like, you know, I mean, the easy one was the athletes, right? Because it's the same story, right? But, you know, the musicians and the actors and like the Spike Lee and the Dapper Dan and the beautiful Lana Turner and the model. That picture in my mind, that was legacy, right? That was like, these were like the grandparents of it all, and sitting at the top of the family tree, right? And everybody else trickling down from that. So it was so it's the only way I can do it if I create a story. And so my when we started, creative director for my styling team, he had just all these things, all these pictures, and I was like, I can't work like that. I was like, I need you to cut out every outfit, cut out every picture, have these big boards, and we just literally for hours did stick pins.
Wow.
And like put the looks, and then in my mind I was naming them all, like, you know, these are the icons, you know, these are the young people, and this was this, and yeah, and it's just it's a tedious process, but it's the only way my mind can think. So I do that for every single red carpet.
Wow.
I do it for everything. It's no fun for me just to put clothes on people.
That's
the
beautiful.
Difference that people see in the work.
I want to talk to you about your vintage, because I know you're close with Michael. Michael and I are friendly. So he told me I need to ask about your archive.
Yes.
And he talked about how Bree Runway owns the D Squared Skate Moss boots that she got. Okay, so do you make your archive available to others?
No. I will sell stuff to people if I like them.
Okay.
Or if I just think they should have it.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? If I think it's something I had, like I sold Laverne Cox a Terry Mugler couture outfit that she hasn't worn yet, but I just called it one day. I was like, I have this, but I think you should have it. So, you know, it's me also wanting to tell a story with somebody that's not my client. You know, it's just like, if I like what you're doing, or I like your style, and I think I have something that I want to see you in, then I'll sell it. Yeah.
What a lucky call to get.
Yeah.
They don't have to do none of the sourcing. You're just like, hi, I have a Mugler dress.
Yeah, I just called him like, I got this look, and I just think it needs to live. It needs to be on somebody. Yeah.
Do you think dresses and clothes were made better in the past than now?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kind of gathered that too. And I don't have as much one-on-one hand experience with the pieces, but even from just what I see on the red carpet.
I do think some things I made better, because it was pre-technology, right? It was a lot of the technology wasn't around, so it was, you know, the artisans and the hand sewing and hand beating, and I still think there's a lot of houses that do things really, really well, but I do think some of the better things were done in the past.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we heard that Zendaya is going to be playing Ronnie Spector.
Yes.
Have you already thought about that?
Of course.
Oh my God, I'm excited for that. Like, what happens when that happens? So you hear, she's like, I've been cast in this movie. What's the immediate thing? You just start thinking.
Ronnie, she met Ronnie before she passed away. So Ronnie asked her to play her.
Okay.
So they built a relationship before she passed away. And yeah, you know, I'm waiting for that. But I also, I don't do any of her films. I did Malcolm and Marie. That was the only thing.
I'm talking about the red carpet run up.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
But I want to do. What I was going to tell you is that I want to do the movie.
Oh,
like,
okay.
That would be something that I want to be. So I'm trying to figure out how to, because Barry Jenkins is directing it.
Oh, amazing.
So I'm trying to figure out how to audition myself to be the
they
costume
should be
designer.
happy for you.
No, I don't want them to just be happy. I want to work for it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't want. You know,
but you've worked for it.
Yeah, I don't want her to be like, oh, I really want to like meet him and put the deck together and do the character development and do all that and really kind of like audition to do it.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Have you have never done you've never costume directed or designed any of her films, correct?
No, just Malcolm and Marie.
Yes, where she had COVID. Yes. You haven't done any films outside of her, right?
No, I haven't done any films. Wait, no.
Okay. That would be so exciting.
Yeah.
I saw that you were with Andre 3000 during Paris Fashion Week.
Yes.
You were just kind of going to shows with him, or y'all working on something?
Yeah, we were working on something.
Interesting.
I consulted for Burberry's Met Gala table.
Oh, okay.
Daniel Lee and Burberry really wanted to get it right, and they wanted to have someone who understood the nuances and the cultural things about being Black and the way we wear clothes and why we make certain decisions of how we dress. And so they hired me to do that, and Andre is one of the people that I was able to kind of secure.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
He needs to be there.
Oh, no, he is.
He will be there by the time y'all watch it.
But like, he is. I mean, he's on the first page of the book, of Monica Miller's book.
Yes.
They talk about Andre 3000. And it was like, we were in London for a meeting with Burberry, and then he was like, oh, I haven't been to a fashion show in so long. And it was Fashion Week, so I'm like, you want to go? And then we went to one, and then I called him, I'm like, oh, well, you know, it's a couple other shows, you know, like, you want to go? So we just end up hanging out during Fashion Week. And that was like, you know, crazy for me. I worked with him before though. I did a Super Bowl commercial with him and Zendaya. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Like he's absolutely amazing. And like, you know, it's kind of like one of those kind of like fan moments. Like, I had a fan moment. We were on our way to McQueen, and like he fell asleep in the car ride. And I was just like, yo, that's Andre 3000.
That
you know what I mean?
crazy.
Like, yeah. But no, he's so humble. So like, just walk down the street and like people were like freaking out. He's just like so like humble, and it's like soothing humble, you know. I'm like, you okay? I'm like, you know, I'm having like us go in the rooms and like wait so he won't get bombarded. He's like, no, I'm chill, I'm good. And he was taking pictures with people, and like, there's a beautiful picture. We were leaving the Sakai show, and it was raining, and we walking down the street, and he's like, holding an umbrella, and it's like this beautiful profile shot, and I'm like I'm framing that. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a big believer in manifesting, and it's like me growing up, listening to his music, watching him, you know, him doing things I had never saw black men do, especially my generation, right? For me to like have his phone number and like sending him YouTube links to things to watch, and he communicating and us talking about his look for the Met, and all he's saying us like going to shows and like having conversations about the clothes we saw, and you know, took him backstage to introduce him to Sean McGurr from McQueen, and was talking about the way things are, and it's just like, he's a true artist. Like, he wants to talk about the construction of the clothes. He wants to see it and touch. I took him to meet Daniel Roseberry from Schiaparelli, and we looked at those clothes, and you know, he was turning things inside out. And it's just like, for me as an artist and creative, to watch someone I look up to do the same things I do, and like the similarities is just like mind blowing. But I have manifested my way into this world and this life that I had no idea was possible.
Right, I know, and it's very empowering to watch, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk about that because you were just naming a bunch of creative directors.
Yeah.
And I know that in the past, you've said you were on a panel with Jason Bolden, and you've said, if it's a no now, it's a no forever.
Yeah.
And I know you've name checked certain brands.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say them, but certain brands that, but now their creative directors are changed.
Yeah.
So how does that, like Chanel, Dior?
Yeah. That was something I said a long time ago.
Okay.
Right. And creative directors have changed, and the industry has changed.
Yes.
And my relationship with luxury has changed. Zendaya's relationship with luxury has changed. But we do, if you look at the things that she wear, you can see there is some loyalty to certain brands and to certain people. Like, we will go wherever certain people go. Yeah. In this, you know, this merry-go-round of fashion. But yeah, you know, I don't have a problem with, just to set the record straight, I'm not beefing with no brands, you know, anymore.
There's no beef.
There's no beef, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what it typically is meant to be a black celebrity stylist. So usually, black stylists were relegated to styling exclusively black clients. This, in many ways, impacted their progression, i.e. the way media covered or didn't cover them, and the way the fashion industry treated them. Oftentimes, luxury brands were less likely to lend clothes to black stylists with black clients. This is still an issue. Law said that early on in his career, he was told that primarily styling black women would affect his ability to grow. And while he was influenced by stylists like June Ambrose and Misa Hilton, he aspired to be treated like Rachel Zoe, who at her peak was styling clients including Nicole Richie, Kate Hudson, and Jennifer Lawrence. She was also sitting front row at fashion shows and meeting with designers backstage, which is all documented on her classic Bravo reality TV show, The Rachel Zoe Project. Law has achieved that goal, and the industry has recognized him in ways they didn't always recognize his predecessors. He won the very first ever Stylist Award in 2022 at the CFDA Fashion Awards, and he's also become the first black stylist to appear on the cover of The Hollywood Reporter's Most Powerful Stylist issue in 2017. This was for his work with Zendaya and Celine Dion. And Law isn't just a stylist, he's talent, which has helped him secure judging gigs on TV series, most recently Project Runway, and very lucrative brand deals. He has also had a very loyal client, Zendaya, who ensures that when she wins, he does too, which we will detail later on. In the next chapters, we will get into the current state of celebrity styling, what he'd like to see change when it comes to stylist compensation, and in our Fashion Sense segment, we will break down how stylists like Law help their celebrity clients make millions of dollars. You know, I've been thinking a lot about Andre Leon Talley with the Black Dandy theme, and obviously y'all have very different careers, but I do think in many ways you have the career that he maybe never was able to have for various reasons, timing, gatekeepers, etc. And I know you talked a lot about gatekeepers around the time of your retirement, and I think that's just kind of what pushed you to the like, I'm done. Are you still dealing with gatekeepers?
I'm sure I will. I think it's inevitable for us to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm coming back into this industry with doing things that I feel like doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have anything to prove. You know, I've done well financially, so I'm not really chasing a check. You know what I mean? It's like I have my TV career that's happening. You know, I have some brand deals of my own. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm doing things that make me feel happy. I'm working with people that make me feel happy, that make me feel inspired. And if there's a roadblock in between that, then I'll turn around just like I don't have to do it. You know, those years of me, I won't say playing nice, but I just don't have to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in a whole different space. If I don't want to do it, if I don't like you, I'm not doing it. If I don't like your manager, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't like your publicist, I'm not doing it. You know, if I don't like your agent, I ain't doing it. You know, it's just like, you know, I'm doing it really on my terms, right? Because I'm just so happy, you know, just so happy. And I don't think I'm willing to sacrifice that for anybody anymore. I did that already, and, you know, I walked away, I got my mind right. Now I can come back and do it purely out of love and joy and respect for the craft, and you know, and a lot of my friends have moved into these creative director positions, and you know, and I'm excited to work with them and to play in clothes, and you know.
Another thing that people always say, and I kind of, you're intimidating.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, on a lot of you just talked about your TV career and a lot of your judging spots, you played the villain in a way. And I feel like you leaned into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is legendary. It's about group performance. So I have to go to the House of Revlon.
Law?
I want to disagree with Compton Barbie at the end.
Which calls for very entertaining TV. But then I think some people don't get that this is a role that I'm playing for this reality TV show. But I know that you were saying before, you kind of created this guard kind of for people to leave you alone.
Yeah.
And it was also like, sometimes you felt invisible, so you just were like, okay, I'm gonna be a bitch. Do you still feel like that? Like, how do you feel when people perceive you as like intimidating or difficult or a diva?
Yeah, I just was having this conversation because somebody who works with me asked me, did I know how people perceive me? And I was like, no, but clearly you do, so do you want to tell me? How do you perceive me? You know, it's just like, I'm seasoned, you know, and it's like, you can't really tell me anything or have me do anything or do things the way you think are better. And it's like, and if that makes me difficult, so be it. And the persona of being, you know, intimidating and a bitch. But it's also like, I'm also walking around with 40 inches of hair and a Croc Birkin and a Chanel jacket. And, you know, some people are just intimidated by that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's other people's things. But yeah, you know, someone said, you know, I'm not a bitch, I just get paid to play one on TV, right? And so yeah, I have leaned into that character because it suits me, and it does give me a chance to kind of, you know, act a little bit, to lean into this character, right? You know, and it's so funny because people always be like, you so sweet, you so nice. I'm like, don't ever tell anybody that.
Yes, I've heard you say that.
Yeah, I'm like, please, whatever you do, you don't have to say I'm a bitch, but just never tell people I'm nice. You know, because when people think you are too nice, they do try to walk all over you. So it's a balance, you know, and yeah, I don't know, I do want to be left alone.
I do too. But sometimes I feel like people say you're intimidating. I'm like, no, you're just insecure. But okay.
Right.
But
no, I think I can be intimidating. Though.
Okay. At least you own it.
Yeah,
See,
for sure.
I refuse to believe it. No, it's fine. Obviously, you treat each client like a project, and there's deep research, which is what I've always respected a lot about you. And I want to start by talking about Ryan Destiny.
Okay.
Who seems to be like your newest muse and client. And I was looking at her Instagram and I was like, she looks great. You know, I think she's looked great. And I'm just curious, like, what your process has been with her, why you wanted to work with her.
Yeah. We're really just getting to know each other. I've dressed her 3 times since this kind of started. I wanted to come back to styling full time, but I want to come back and work with people that were inspiring to me, or that I just see something in. And so we've known each other socially for years, been, you know, same carpets and stuff like that. But, you know, I met her mom, and, you know, her mom expressed that she had, you know, wanted to work with me for years. So I'm just like, okay, you know, I think I'm gonna come back full time. And so let's try it out. Let's see what happens.
But yeah, I know you were saying how you look at clients like there's a space that this client could fill with like a narrative in terms of style. So what are you still figuring it out with Ryan? Like, what are you thinking is a space that she could fill?
I know it. I'm not going to tell you yet.
Okay,
you'll see an evolution, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like you're starting off conservative. She's giving like rich wife.
Yeah.
With the Schiaparelli and the Ralph Lauren. Yeah, I can't wait to see how it evolves. She's beautiful.
She looks like a brat style to me.
She does. She has like a beautiful chocolate brown doll face.
Yeah.
And then I like to go back to early work. So I wanted to show the video of Zendaya on the red carpet. Was this the first time you saw her?
This was the very first look we've ever done.
And I was watching it, and I was just like, even then, she knew how to play a character on the carpet. She's like, I'm young, I'm flirty, I'm cute. Did y'all work together on that? And talk about her. What can you ID this outfit?
This was the Alice and Olivia skirt, I want to say, or Alexander Wayne skirt, Alice and Olivia jacket, reverse or whatever. I think this was a turning point for her, just as an artist, as a young lady, because when we put the outfit together, because if you don't look at it and you say it, we like silver lame jacket, kind of like puke green patent leather skirt, black tights. It doesn't really sound appealing. And I will never forget before she walked out the door, she was like, "What if people don't like it?" And I just literally like put my hand on her shoulder. And I was like, "Who gives a fuck?"
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that in that moment, I saw something change in her, and so after that, it was like, anything goes. We could be whoever we want, whoever this character is. We're gonna go out and we're gonna play it, and then everything else kind of happened.
Yeah. Because I think people underestimate that. Yes, it's a good outfit, but it's also like becoming this character, like becoming, what the intended representation of this outfit is. Was that something y'all talked about early on?
I don't know if we ever had like a real conversation about it, but our relationship is big ideas, small details.
Yes.
So I come up with like this huge story and this narrative of like this girl and where she's going, like, and why is she there, and and all these things and all these references, and she kind of takes that and she narrows it down, and then she becomes it. And it's something that just started that day, but just grew and then became stronger as we worked together, and as she grew up and as I grew up, and as we traveled more and our taste levels changed and all those things. So it just kind of really evolved into what you've seen over the last few years.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful how y'all been able to grow together.
Yeah,
and it does feel very kismet, like y'all's partnership. And then I wanted to go, because people don't talk to you about these folks, but our audience cares about these folks. You used to style Wale.
Yeah.
Look at him in his floral blazer. Yeah,
Tom
talk about
Ford.
that. That was a Tom Ford? Okay.
And that's WizKid.
Oh, yes, it sure is.
I did WizKid that night, too. Yeah, PML,
Yes.
Early. Yeah, I just talked to Wale the other night.
How's he doing?
He's doing well.
Good.
Yeah, I've dressed in my career, which I say my career started in 2014. That video of Zendaya was 2011, but I consider me working as a stylist when I moved to LA in 2014. And since then, I think I've dressed well over 100 people. Yeah, and across, from SWV to Anne Hathaway and Ariana to City Girls, but I'm
curious with Wale, because he was like the sneaker guy, and like that's how our audience knew him. Was it hard to get him into this? Like, do you remember? Like, what were the conversations?
Yeah, it was hard because because Wale was in that, he was a sneaker guy, but he also had a lot of friends around him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But I'm just like, take a chance. Let's do something else.
He looks great.
Yeah, I haven't saw this picture in a long time. Yeah.
And then speaking of the City Girls, I wanted to go to them because, the rap girls, you saw a few of them, Megan, and she had that big moment post the case and, the trial. Yeah. Even like this JT Von Dutch moment, I feel like in many ways she's playing off of this look now.
She's back. She's there now. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. No, I love both of them. Actually, I talked to both of them. I was just with JT in Paris. This was like the first photo shoot that they had did when JT came home. Yeah, I actually did their very first cover.
Oh, with the braid?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I love that. The braid connected. Talk about styling the rap girls. Because, look, I mean, I hear it's different from styling the other girls. Is it?
I think rap girls are just like rap guys. They just are they on their own time. Yes. You know what I mean? They're on their own time. But yeah, I don't think it's really any difference in dressing any women, because girls are girls,
Yes.
right? And women, you know, it's their prerogative to change their mind and say yes to something, women, and then say no the next. And you know, I have sisters, I have a mother. It's like you grow up with that, so it never really bothers me. I think women have a common thread that all women have some similarities in some type of ways, especially when it comes to the way they look and the way they present themselves.
Are you critical of your own work?
Extremely. Like, I can't let it go.
Really? Can you name a scenario?
Yeah, the first time Zendaya went to the Met, there was a shoe that I wanted her to wear, and I was, again, humble and grateful to be there that Fausto had chose her and worked with me on the look. But there was a shoe, she ended up wearing a black pump, and there was another shoe that I thought was better, and it was a platform, and it was amazing, and I'll never forget it. And to this day, I have not let it go that I did not advocate for that shoe. I can't let it go. I cannot let it go. I know every mistake I've ever made.
Yeah.
I know everything that I could have fixed had I had enough time, or had I been able to convince the client otherwise, or I cannot let it go.
Well, you didn't advocate to who?
To the designer.
Okay.
Because he was like, oh, I think it should just be the simple black plump. And I bought the shoe. I'm like, I think it's this shoe. We tried it on. And so I just let him win. And I have never, and he's one of my best friends right now. And I have never let that go. And I've had so many Met moments since then. I've never let it go, because I know to this day that shoe was a better shoe.
I feel you. What's a common mistake that you see stylists making?
Making it about them?
No. Oh, you talk about making it about them? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, I have a school of style.
Yes.
And one of the things that I mentor and lecture those students about is like not trying to make the moment about you, right? Because everybody, like all the stylists want a Law Zendaya moment, they want a viral moment, you know, and it's just like your focus should be just to do good work. And if the work is good, you'll have your moment. But I think a lot of younger stylists want it to be the biggest dress, or the brightest dress, or the biggest moment, and they're doing that for them because they want the recognition. And for me, I didn't come into this industry thinking I knew I wanted to be successful. And I knew when people talked about when the conversation came up, who was the best, I wanted to be in that conversation. But I had no idea that it would become what it became. But what it became is all just the product of me doing good work, right? Everybody I worked with, I treated everybody the same, no matter if it was your first movie or you won an Oscar, if your first album or you won a Grammy. I've always gave everybody the same amount of respect and attention. I just wanted to do good work. And I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They try to make the moment about them having a moment and not the client.
I know a few of you, and I don't think people know your legacy enough. Like, you work with Colin, work with you. Timothy Luke work with you, who now sells Ice Spice. Colin now sells Cardi. Sam, y'all had some type of involvement.
Sam worked for me for a while too.
He worked for you, yeah. Now, you know, what do you think is the main thing? You said one thing, don't make it about you. But even with like the looks and the aesthetic, what's the main thing that you try to impart to people who work for you? Because one thing about all of your looks, aside from the storytelling, people look polished. Like the clothes fit, they look, you know, like they look rich, you know, and I feel like that's a through line of everything that you do. What's something that you try to impart to them, and how do you feel looking at their work?
Well, at the people that work for me, I'm super proud. I'm super proud. And, you know, and I have real conversations with Colin and Timothy. Like they'll call me like, well, what did you think? And I'm like,
Oh no!
I really like it, but they also have the allowance to do that about my work, you know. So it's like it's a family, and you know, and we're not always going to have the same opinion, and that's the way it should be, right? Yeah. But the tailoring and making sure things fit and that aesthetic, you know, that's basic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
but sometimes we don't see that.
Well, then they should all go to school of style. The people who don't, so you can learn the basics.
Right. And you kind of already set this from the jump when you told Zendaya, who gives a fuck what you're wearing.
Yeah.
But you've also utilized social media. You're tapped in. It's clear you're tapped into social. And like, how does it impact any of your choices?
That it doesn't.
Okay.
It informs my choices based on research, right?
Got it.
So, you know, social media is a good place to find resources and inspiration, but I do not think about what people are going to say. That's not how I make choices. I don't care about the comments. I don't really care if I want people to talk about it, and I don't want people to love everything. I want it to be a conversation, but that conversation doesn't affect me. You know, I read it, you know, and I laugh at it, you know.
Did it take you time to get there?
No, I've always been like
I love
that.
that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about now the business of being a stylist, because you were just talking about your talent. And you said before that being able to be talent has obviously made you more money, like simply put. I do want to, being a stylist, it's not a lucrative position on certain levels. Obviously you've gotten to a certain level, but I was watching the old Hollywood Reporter panel.
I actually lose money during award season. I remember years ago talking to a huge stylist who sat there and said, I am in the hole $25,000 from the last 3 months.
What are the expenses? The tailoring,
shipping,
and then assistance, and then also just talking about how you were saying how you had a retainer when you were in music and like styling K. Michelle, like $12K a month. Then it went lower. I'm just curious, what do you want to see shift with the way in which stylists are paid? Because you've talked about different things, like brands maybe need to add in a bonus if you have helped, you're bringing them millions and millions of dollars worth of marketing. What are some things that you're thinking about that you want to shift in?
I would love to see that happen. You know, because I think what we did with Challengers and creating this world of Tashi Duncan, like when I like literally walked in Target and at the front of Target was tennis court, right? So I think that people should be rewarded for that, because there's you know, budgets for marketing, and when you can make turn something into a global trend based on your ideas and your work, then I think you should be compensated for that in a certain way, right? Like when movies do well, actors get bonuses. When they hit a certain point, they get extra bonuses. So I'm like, if you can directly tie what I'm doing to assets being put in the seats and tickets being bought, then at some point there should be something, right? And I mean, that was kind of a phenomenon. Like, I don't think I have ever done it that way, but also that was Zendaya's first role as a leading lady. It was a smaller film, more independent, you know what I mean? So that was kind of like market research almost, right? So
but
now,
even Dune.
But Dune is its own thing, right? Dune is a franchise. Dune is gonna be Dune regardless. I think Dune was, what I did was really entertaining, but what I did for Challengers, that was something different. And I think that should be quantified, right?
So it's happened. The Challengers has happened. The case study has happened. Now what? What does your agent do? Do you think you have more leverage to ask for what you just mentioned?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I want to ask. I'm gonna ask. You know, let's see what happens.
You should ask.
The whole system of the way studios work is changing, and we all know that. I think it's a lot of talk about what Ryan Coogler and his new movie and what that's doing to the structures of the studio. So it all kind of falls in line, right? In the same way. So maybe they will see more value in stylists that do things that are definitely quantifiable, and you see the results. Right.
Because
that was a case study though, right? So
what I love about you and your career is that you are able to monetize in a way that stylists in the past have not. You know, and like I was reading the interview you had with Mel, and I think this is a rumor, and I don't know, but if you were baked into Zendaya's fashion deals, if you are, I think that's amazing. Is that something you can talk about or no?
I think she talked about it in a Bizarre interview.
Okay. We'll show that Bizarre interview. So a lot of y'all think a stylist's sole job is to put celebrities in good outfits, but it's so much bigger than that. And the right stylist can completely change a celebrity's career and help them make millions of dollars. Let me explain. They research what clothes are available in the market that will work for their client, and then they request those items from the designer brands. Those designer brands then decide whether or not they want to loan the stylist pieces for their client to wear. And this is for press appearances, red carpets, magazine editorials, and sometimes street style, i.e. what the client wears to the grocery store when paparazzi shoots them. Note, most of the time, celebrities don't wear their own clothes. When a stylist is involved, they are usually borrowed from the brand. So, the stylist puts together the outfit, helps define the celebrity's image, and maintains relationships with different brands so they can get the best, most appropriate items for their clients. It is a competition for these clothes because these brands only make a few samples to loan out to clients and magazines. So the entire industry is requesting the same pieces, and there is a hierarchy. But did you know that stylists also play a major role in securing their clients' fashion deals, which can be worth millions of dollars? Let's talk about how this relates to Law Roach and Zendaya. So Zendaya was a very cute Disney star who wanted to graduate out of the space and be taken seriously as an adult actress. Fashion, and being styled by Roach, was a key way to do that. But how? Because of her good outfit, she was able to secure press, which helped with her relevancy, which then makes fashion brands want to be associated with her, and movie studios want to cast her in films. It's not just about talent and being pretty. It's about a fashion brand determining if you have good taste, will represent their clothes well, and be a good association/alignment. For example, when Kim Kardashian first started, she was doing deals with brands like Sears, RIP, BV, and Skechers. But through her affiliation with Ye, who introduced her to luxury designers like Givenchy and Lanvin, she secured deals with luxury brands like Balenciaga eventually. Styling changed her entire positioning. So for Zendaya, she wouldn't always have a project to promote, but she'd show up to different red carpet events. Sometimes she wasn't even invited to them, just to have her picture taken. Law had an interesting strategy where he would purposely put her in clothes another celebrity has already worn in order for Zendaya to appear in the Who Wore It Best feature, which used to be a staple in the weekly tabloids. And we know who would win. The goal with these outfits is to get press, boost relevancy, and for most stylists, secure a fashion deal for the talent. So what is a fashion deal? It's a paid relationship between a celebrity and a brand. A brand pays a celebrity millions of dollars to wear their pieces a certain amount of times a year and appear in brand campaigns. Zendaya's first fashion deal was with Tommy Hilfiger in 2017. Then she leveled up to Valentino before leveling up again to a Louis Vuitton deal a couple years ago. Law has been a part of all of these deals, meaning he is in the contract and gets paid a portion of the millions of dollars the brand is paying Zendaya. He gets a cut. He also appears in some of the campaigns, which means he's paid his talent as well. But this wasn't always the case in the celebrity styling industry. In the past, even if a stylist had helped a client gain this deal, they were cut out of it. In an Elle magazine cover story, Zendaya says that Law is her creative director, and he's part of all of her fashion deals. But I will say, most celebrity clients don't look out for their stylists in this way. So, these luxury deals with someone like a Louis Vuitton usually open themselves to other brand deals, as it did for Zendaya, who also currently has a deal with the Swedish running company On, which is probably worth millions of dollars, and Law is getting a cut. He's styling the campaign, that's a payment, and he's appearing in social content surrounding the campaign, that's another payment. So while he's helping Zendaya secure lucrative brand deals, Zendaya is embedding him into each of her deals. So everyone, this is why it pays to dress well. I love that you have this ownership and equity. Mm-hmm. I saw you speaking on another panel and you were just saying how like, now for me it's like it's not enough for us to be the face. It's mm-hmm. like how are we having like a real investment or stake in this mm-hmm. brand or business? Mm-hmm. And you also talked about the idea of like creating an LVMH or Karen.
Yeah.
Do you still aspire to that? Like, is it still something that's top of mind for you?
I do dream about it, and I manifest that all the time, and to see what that would look like mm-hmm. if it's just kind of like Prada buying Versace, mm-hmm. and now we have this thought of like what the Italian version mm-hmm. would be of a Kering mm-hmm. or an LVMH. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, like what, we have to think and dream about what would a black owned, black centered conglomerate of fashion look like, mm-hmm. if we had ownership in it.
Yeah, I dream of that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Speaking of dreaming, have you dreamed of what Zendaya's wedding dress is going to look like?
No.
Really?
The wedding, Zendaya is working on 6 movies. Like she has like 6 movies coming out. Like
she's not even thinking about being married.
I'm thinking about the press tours.
Okay.
It will probably be a wedding dress that no one will ever see, to be quite honest, because she and Tom are super private about their relationship. Well, not their relationship, but about, and they try to be as private as possible. So I don't think there won't be a Vogue spread, or there won't be a, pictures of the wedding, you know, and the people that she will invite will be really respectful of their privacy. So it'll be a really beautiful dress that no one gets to see.
Damn.
Right.
Have you made an official announcement that you're not retired anymore?
Yeah, I did it at the Fashion Trust Awards.
Oh, okay, yes, because you were with Ryan.
No, I did it on stage.
Oh, you
actually.
did it on stage?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was given the award for Ready to Wear.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. You talked about it a lot, about this moment that brought you to saying, like, I'm done. How did you get back to a place, outside of what we talked about, of wanting to be involved with the Met and also just doing what you want? How did you, like, mentally get back to a place of, I want to be basically of service again?
Yeah, no. You gonna use my words against
Yes.
me. I'm just happy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy. I'm building out my team. I have, you know, one of my assistants that, like, when I was struggling and going through everything, when I lost my nephew and the retirement, has really been like a backbone for me. So this time around, I'm coming back and I'm gonna rebuild my business, but I'm gonna give equity in my business to a couple other stylists.
Wow.
That we become more of like this firm in a way.
I love that.
Yeah. It's definitely gonna be one. Her name is Crystal.
Okay.
We're just trying to figure out if we're gonna have another partner or not.
Okay.
Because I like to work in volume. You know, I like the chaos. I love to have my hands in a lot of different things. And then, you know, it's the TV career, and then it's you know, the consulting, and, you know, hopefully designing and all those things. So, but I still want the styling to be at the core of it all. So I'm going to offer equity in my business to
amazing.
people that I believe in.
Wow. Street style. So I know that Celine, you leaned into that heavy as a part of, like, this transformation of people seeing her as a young, cool, fresh woman or whatever. And there's some stylists who, like, solely focus on that, like what girls wear to go to the grocery store or whatever. Is that a space you care about? Like,
I don't have clients that do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, to be quite honest, and this could sound cocky, but I feel like I invented street style with Celine, because her walking out of that hotel every day in a different look and that becoming world news every single day. I just think that there wasn't a name for it then. But I think the girls that do street style, like May Riley and I think it's Danny and Michelle, maybe, those girls are really kind of pushing the needle more than red carpet, because those things convert. Maeve could put her client in something, or Hailey Bieber could wear something, and you see people going and buy it. Like, so I think the girls that focus on street styling and street style looks are actually a little bit more valuable than just people who do red carpet.
what's your advice to folks who want to have
And they should definitely be compensated.
For sure.
1,000%.
Yeah. Because you are a face and you clearly understand, and I think you're suited to be that. Like, I think you're suited to be talent. You're smart, articulate, fun, entertaining.
Beautiful.
All that. Beautiful, all that. So you're suited to be on the camera. But some people don't always love that. But it does feel like, styling feels like, it's like, damn, how long am I have to carry around garment bags? Like, like, what do you say is a trajectory for folks who say, I don't want to be talent, but I want to style? Like,
it's personal.
Yeah.
It's personal. I had an assistant, one of the best assistants I ever had. He never wanted to be a stylist. He just wanted to help. He wanted to be in the background. He wanted to make me as, be a part of my success. And that's what he wanted to do, and some people, that they love it and they want to do it. Patty Wilson has been doing it for years, and she's still doing it, and she's still on sets tying up shoes, and so it's a personal preference. I'm naturally lazy. Like,
what you mean?
I like to work, but if I was a Nepo baby, or if I could marry well, I would do that, and I wouldn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I would go shop and get massages every day.
Right.
But I work because I have to. I have to maintain, this lifestyle. I want to maintain a certain lifestyle, I should say. But it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
Some people want to do it to the day they die. Some people are blessed they do it as a hobby. A lot of the stylists have rich husbands or great families, and so it is what it is. And some of us don't.
Yeah, exactly. What is the win now? I think so much of your career has been fighting for something.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that for a lot of Black people who are creative in a space that's mostly white, which is most spaces. What's the win for you now? What are you fighting for now? I know you said you care about others and you being a reference point for them. But what else? What's a win for you?
I think that is still the win. You know, anytime someone can use my name as, you know, well, I think it's possible. I know it's possible because Law did it. You know, I that brings me the most joy that I've been able to open doors and changed, you know, people's lives financially, right? I've been able to do a lot of things first. So now there is a reference point to say, oh, well, you can't say I can't do that because he did it. Right. And I love that. You know what I mean? I love sharing. You know, people know I am very open about the amount of money I make, how I make it. You know, we are dealing with billion-dollar corporations and we're basically getting crumbs, right? So, you know, hopefully if I can tell you how many crumbs I get, you can go back and you can get more. And then when they come back, I can get more. And then it's like, you know, hopefully those crumbs turn into a whole loaf at one point. You know what I mean? So I'm all about, that's what I care about. And I care about that for Black people. I want to see us win. I'm just like Issa. I'm voting on, you know, I'm rooting for all the Black people. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So that's still my win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I know me, you know, growing up in the 2000s and Vibe being my reference point. And it's like you see these names and these Black stylists who have clearly impacted the industry, but a lot of times they've gone unknown until semi-recently. Yeah. So I love that you are a face. I love that people know who you are. I love that you are getting paid for what you're worth. I hope you are. I'm sure you are. Yeah. And I think it's just and that you were able to circumvent the actual regular traditional process, you know, and I'm thankful that you came.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I think I was able to circumvent that process because I was such an outsider. Yeah. I didn't have anything to say, you're supposed to do this. I just kind of did what I thought was right. Yes. And it worked.
Exactly. And you don't feel limited to like, you know, I don't look like her, I don't sound like her, so it's not gonna work for me. Right. Yeah.
And a lot of that shit is learned behavior. Oh no, you can't ask for that. They would never do that. And I had nobody tell me no. Right. Or that I shouldn't, so I just did it. Right. And I asked for it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great advice, everyone. Yeah. Ask for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Law. I appreciate you.